All right, let's dive into a story that's going to connect the hum of your refrigerator, our deepest evolutionary instincts, and the exact moment rock and roll secretly fell in love with disco. It's a wild one.
So, have you ever been sitting there, maybe late at night, and you swear you can hear a faint radio playing, but then you realize, nope, it's just the air conditioner? Or maybe you've heard what sounds like whispers in the static of a TV. It's a super common, kind of creepy experience, and trust me, it's not just you.
Well, that feeling of hearing something that isn't really there, it actually has a name. And figuring out what it is, well, that's the key to unlocking this huge moment in music history. It's called auditory pareidolia. Now, it's really important to know this isn't a hallucination. A hallucination is when your brain creates a sound out of thin air. Pareidolia is more of a sensory illusion. Your brain takes a real sound, like the hum of a fan, and it just projects a pattern onto it. It's trying to find meaning where there isn't it.
So, and this is the crucial part, if this happens to you, it doesn't mean your brain is broken. In fact, it means it's working exactly as it was designed to. This isn't some weird glitch in the system, it is a core feature of how we're all wired, and the reason why it's a feature is absolutely fascinating.
See, this tendency to hear things isn't just some modern quirk. Oh no, it's actually an echo of a very, very old survival tool. You could almost call it an ancient superpower that helped our ancestors stay alive. You have to understand, your brain isn't just sitting back and passively listening to the world. It is an active, non-stop prediction machine. It absolutely despises random chaos. So it's constantly scanning everything around you, looking for patterns, using every experience you've ever had to try and guess what's happening right now and what's about to happen next. It's desperately trying to find a signal in all the noise. This constant hunt for patterns is driven by something scientists call the Hyperactive Agency Detection Device. I know it's a mouthful. Let's call it HAD. What it basically means is that our brains are biased. When they hear a sound they can't immediately identify, like a twig snapping in the woods, the default assumption is that something with a mind caused it. An agent, a person, or maybe a predator.
And this chart shows you exactly why that is. Let's look at the top row. A predator's actually there. If your brain hears it and you run, that's a hit. You survive. Awesome. But if your brain dismisses it as just the wind, that's a miss. You're lunch. Now look at the bottom row. There's no predator. If your brain still thinks it hears one, that's a false alarm. That's our pareidolia. You get a little spooked, waste some energy, but you're safe. See the math here? The cost of one miss is infinite. The cost of 1,000 false alarms is basically nothing.
Which is why evolution made a clear choice. It favored the brains that jumped at every shadow, the ones that made a ton of false alarms. We are literally the descendants of the most paranoid, jumpy ancestors who ran from every strange sound. That paranoia, that deep instinctual need to find a pattern in the noise, is baked right into our DNA.
So what on earth does this ancient, paranoid, pattern-obsessed brain have to do with music? As it turns out, absolutely everything.
Just think about it for a second. If you have this machine in your head that has evolved over millions of years to do one thing really, really well, find order in chaos, seek out rhythm and repetition, what is the absolute best thing you could possibly give it?
Music. Music is organized sound. It's pure pattern. It's the ultimate satisfying meal for our pattern-hungry brain. And back in the 1970s, two huge musical genres popped up that gave our brains two totally different but equally delicious kinds of patterns to chew on.
Okay, so on one side you had funk. Think James Brown, Parliament Funkadelic. Funk is all about complex, dense patterns. You've got these interlocking polyrhythms, right? The bass line is doing one thing, the drums another, the guitar and horns are weaving in and out. It's a puzzle that your brain has to actively work to solve. Then, on the other side, you had disco. And disco did the opposite. It took the pattern and made it as simple and powerful as possible. That hypnotic, four-on-the-floor beat. Thump, 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 thump. It wasn't designed for active listening. It was engineered to make you move your body. Two completely different approaches, both scratching that same deep, neurological itch.
And this, my friends, is where our story takes a really interesting turn. Because while these two sounds were taking over, a full-blown cultural war was about to break out. As disco just exploded into the mainstream in the late 70s, the backlash from rock fans was intense. I mean, disco sucks wasn't just a funny slogan on a t-shirt. It was a genuine cultural battle cry. To them, rock was real and authentic, while disco was seen as this shallow, commercial, manufactured product. And this all came to a head in the summer of '79 at a place called Disco Demolition Night. I'm not making this up.
A DJ in Chicago organized this event at a baseball game, where fans could bring their disco records to be literally blown up in the middle of the field. It turned into an actual riot, with thousands of people storming the field, setting piles of vinyl on fire. It was chaos.
So the battle lines, they seemed crystal clear, right? It was rock versus disco. Pick a side. But while all that was happening out in the open, something else was going on behind the scenes. Could it be that those simple, hypnotic disco patterns were just too perfectly tuned to that ancient wiring in our brains, so much so that even its biggest enemies couldn't actually resist it?
Let's look at the receipts. While their fans were literally burning disco records, their rock and roll heroes were secretly getting down to the beat. In 1978, the Rolling Stones, of all bands, hit #1 with the super disco-y Miss You. Then, in 1979, the same year as Disco Demolition, Pink Floyd releases Another Brick in the Wall, which is built on a straight-up disco beat, and it becomes a massive global hit. And then, even the ultimate hard rockers, Kiss, cashed in with I Was Made for Loving You. And by 1980, Queen comes out with Another One Bites the Dust, and it was game over. The invasion was complete.
So what in the world does this all mean? Okay, let's connect all the dots. From our ancient ancestors hiding in the grass all the way to Freddie Mercury on stage.
Remember that weird feeling of hearing a song in your fan? Well, that's your hyperactive agency detection device, that ancient survival tool that makes your brain desperately hunt for patterns in random noise to keep you safe. And that exact same ancient wiring is what made disco's simple, powerful beat so irresistible. It was like a master key designed to fit a lock that's been inside the human brain for hundreds of thousands of years. It was so potent, so deeply satisfying to our pattern-seeking minds, that it just waltzed right across enemy lines and conquered the heart of rock and roll without anyone even noticing.
In the end, the whole disco sucks movement was doomed from the start. Not because rock music was weak, but because they were picking a fight they could never win. It was never really a fight about musical taste or authenticity. It was a fight against human nature. And you just can't win a fight against the brain's fundamental, ancient, and insatiable need for a beat.
Kind of makes you wonder, doesn't it? If you just stop for a second and you really listen to the quiet sounds around you, what secret little song is your ancient brain making up for you right now?